Welcome to the third part of this film on communication. We have now come to an important phase of this program. Why I call it important is because only after the right soil is selected, tilled, mineralized, and watered does the time become ripe to sow the seeds, which would eventually give rise to good fruits. And that is exactly what this part of the program is going to do: sow the seeds in the well prepared soil. What I meant was, we are now well equipped to take into our advantage the various tips which we are going to deal with in this part, which will be the stepping stones to better communication. We suggest that you learn these tips by heart so that you can always utilize these tips without forgetting. Let us now go over to Professor Dheer.
The guidelines for effective communication. What is it that we can do, or what is it that we should not do in order to make our communication more effective? The last point. So if you want to improve your communication, improving If you want to improve the communication, improving communication effectiveness, the very first point is, it is always better, you see, if you want to send a message to some person, okay, then you must note down the main points that you wish to put across, so that the message is comprehensive, it is precise, and it contains all the elements, it contains all the content or the ingredients which you wish to pass on to the receiver. So the very first point is that if you want to make effective communication, you must note down the important points. Now this holds good both for the receiver, the sender as well as the receiver. Even if you are receiving a message, it is always better to make a note of all the important points which are contained in the message that is received by you. The second thing is, always repeat the important points, even at the risk of repetition. You see, because you want to really emphasize what is the major thrust of that message. So you can always repeat the important points. Even if this will take a little more time, doesn't matter really, okay? You must repeat some of the important points for discussion. Then when you are sending messages and somebody else is receiving the message, if you have a doubt, then please ask questions or seek clarifications. So ask questions and seek clarifications. There should be no doubt regarding what is the content of the message. And this is again very important if you are looking for improved or more effective communication. Another very important aspect is the timing of your communication. You see, a little earlier on I told you, if you have to have an important document, supposing it is to be approved by your manager, then timing is very important. Timing means when should the message be put across to the superior. Now, in your case, supposing you want the approval to a new scheme, or if you have a budget with you which you want to get approved, then the timing of the message is kindly ensure that this is given to the receiver at a time when he is not otherwise preoccupied. Now, if the person is preoccupied, then chances are he will not really be able to pay attention to the kind of message you are giving, and this will lead to a communication which is not very effective. Then ability to use language effectively. Now, effective use of the language means, first of all, avoid jargon. Don't use too much of jargon, okay? Use simple language. Avoid too much of jargon. It's not good. The other thing is clarity. Clarity in terms of the message content, clarity in terms of speaking. Speak clearly and be very clear about the words that you are using for transmitting the message. If the clarity is lacking, then it is common experience. Many times we say, no, this is not what I meant. So we should never have to say that I said something which I didn't mean. So here, avoid the jargon and strive or make efforts, conscious efforts for clarity. Clarity in terms of content, clarity in terms of the speech. I was just coming to that. Avoid lengthy messages. Come to the point straight away. Okay? So, be brief and to the point. See, you must have heard there is a concept of message overload. In today's context, every person working at a particular level, he gets so much of information, so much of data, okay? So there is a message overload, and many a time he doesn't even look at many circulars and many written communication which would be coming into his tray, and that should not really happen, okay? So be brief and be to the point. Another thing is very, very important, empathy. What is empathy? Anybody?
Opposite of you.
Empathy is not quite. Empathy is trying to put yourself into the other person's position. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Somebody is trying to send you a message, okay? Now, when you are receiving the message, try and receive the message by imagining that you are in that individual's position. This is called as empathy. Then you will be able to perhaps appreciate the true meaning of the message which is being conveyed by that individual to you. So empathy also is very, very important. As I said, 7 points, but we have 2 or 3 other points also. Maybe 2 other points which are very important I'll discuss with you. The 9th point is you must give a very patient and careful listening to the person who is trying to talk to you. Okay? So listening is very important. As I mentioned earlier, nature or God has given us 2 ears but 1 tongue. What is the gentle hint here? The gentle hint here is talk less, listen more. And God has given us 2 ears, okay? One for the meaning, the other for the feeling. So try to appreciate what the other person is trying to put across to you by first of all carefully giving him a careful listening, patient hearing, and second thing is listen carefully. what the other person is trying to put across. In such a situation, chances are that you will have a much more effective communication. Now, the 10th point also is very important. When you communicate, the content of your message and the tone of your message, they must match. If the content and the tone, if they don't match, it can be disastrous. Okay? Let me give you one example. You meet a colleague of yours, maybe after 2 years, and you want to tell him that how happy you are on meeting him again. Okay? So one way of saying that is, oh, I am so happy indeed to see you again. This is one way of saying it. Just imagine, supposing this was said not in this way. Supposing you say it like this, oh, I am so happy to see you again. See the difference between the two? In the second case, you're not really happy. The other person is convinced that in fact you're not happy on seeing me. Okay? So what has gone wrong? Maybe your intention was you were honestly happy on meeting this person after a lapse of 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. But the manner in which you said that, your tone did not match the content. So if you really want to convince somebody, if you really want to give the message which you intend to transmit to the receiver, kindly ensure that there is a good match. Okay? There is a good match between the content of the message and the tone of voice in which the message is put across. Now, I think what all we have said, if individuals make a conscious effort, if you make a conscious, deliberate effort, it is possible to bring about some improvements in communication. And I think all of us, whether in business or in industry, a lot is at stake. And let me tell you, effective communication many a time is the thin line which is dividing success and failure. So don't underestimate the importance of communication, whereas job-related technical knowledge, technical know-how, technical skills are very, very important. Success, to a very large degree, also depends upon how effective you are as a communicator.
Viewers, now that we have come to the end of this program, we hope you have gained an understanding about the various aspects we discussed of communication, which were the importance of communication, the process, and the characteristics of communication. This program would achieve its goal only if you were to go ahead and utilize these tips we dealt with to your advantage. And we assure that these would serve a long way for your success in all areas of life. Here's wishing you all the best.